The Invest in Her podcast is brought to you in part by Wells Fargo Bank. Hi, I'm Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. I'm also the podcast host of Invest in Her and an award-winning producer, author, and TEDx speaker. Our show, Invest in Her, features phenomenal female founders and funders. As you know, women receive less than 2% of venture capital funding. Our series is about accelerating the funding of women by connecting them to funding resources. Let's meet today's guest. Welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, and the producer of the new movie, Show Her the Money. That's right, and we're going to be talking about that today. We also just launched a fund called Silicon Valley Women Founders Fund, and excited about how that's going to deploy capital to women. And so it really ties into our conversation today with my next guest, who is Dr. Donald Barden, who is also an author of the new book. I'm so excited to talk about this because it's called Here Come the Girls. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Donald Barden. Hi, Don. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Catherine. Thank you for having me, and thank you for what you're doing. I love your work. I've listened to all of your podcasts, and I'm following your movies. And I tell you, I've never been so excited about what's happening, and I appreciate you championing this and being out there, not just for the ladies, but for everybody. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, I have to admit, I was surprised that there was a book coming out written by a male about Here Come the Girls. And I'm like, I have to have him on my show. We have to talk about this because your research shows, and I talk about this all the time, that starting 2028, that there's going to be like this economic shift for women to empower us more. Now, you're probably talking about, you know, in general, women becoming global leaders, from what I understand, the synopsis of your book. And I talk about it more from the perspective of, you know, women coming into trillions of dollars in the coming decade and how I want them to be aware of, you know, investing in venture capital to invest in women and girls and BIPOC and LGBTQ, like all the overlooked communities. But today, we're going to focus on this global shift because I'm super excited to talk about this. You know, you are a expert economist. John Maxwell calls you one of the 30 most transformational leaders in the world. So I am super excited to talk about this with you.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. We'll dive in as fast as you want. You know, it's interesting. That tipping point is coming. It's just math. And I tell people this all the time. I'm not male bashing. I'm not anything. Let's just talk about science and let's talk about what it is, but then ask a few critical questions. And that's where it all began. And it became so clear, so fast what was happening. There's not a guy on the planet that disagrees with it. There's really not. It's a phenomenon like the economy has never seen before, and it is coming. So the question I always ask people, and I preface this a little bit, I'm like, you know, I don't believe in luck, but I realize that the harder someone works, the luckier they are, right? So I tell people, luck does favor the prepared. So what are you doing to be prepared? And voices like yours and the work that you're doing is allowing everybody to be prepared for this shift because it's a good thing. And I tell, if you read the subtitle of the book, it's called Here Come the Girls. Then below it says, a celebration of why women will take over global leadership in the year 2028. So it's something to be proud of, excited about for everybody. It's not a gender thing. It's just something that's happening. And fortunately, it's a good thing. It's a really, really good thing.
It is a good thing. And, you know, this disparity, the shift there has been so imbalanced, so unequal for so long that I think, like you said, even the men are saying, you know what? We should have more female influence in every aspect of leadership, of investing, in all of this because it's better for the planet at large. It's better for everyone. It's better for generational wealth for all. And when everyone has the opportunity to succeed, it benefits everyone. And so, you know, I don't know that everyone would agree with us, Don, but I think the majority of people agree with that statement.
Well, openly agree and in their head agreeing are two different things. I think 100% of people agree in their brain
Yeah.
that it's a good thing, but there are going to be people fighting, behind it. And I'll tell you one thing when I teach classes, and I've been very fortunate to teach at some really, really great universities and talk to some really, really bright people. And I always tell people, there's a bunch of rule number ones in economics, but one of the rule number ones in economics is you never judge the past. And the reason why is because usually when you look back at the past, there were really good people trying to do good things in the context of what was happening. In a lot of cases, they didn't know any better. And so we look back, and I can tell you exactly, anybody can tell you, any economist can tell you exactly why we've had male dominance over the past million years or whatever. And it comes down to a simple term, and that's called red muscle mass. It has nothing to do with politics and patriarchal system. If you just look at how society grew, when we were an agricultural society, we had to plow fields and cut down trees. Frankly, guys are better at that. I mean, it's just red muscle mass. We can do that. We're real good at doing that. And then in the Industrial Revolution, you had to turn that wrench 100,000 times a day, to pump out all the cars that are happening. But then you look at society and you go, well, wait a minute. We're not an agricultural society anymore, although it's a big deal. The Industrial Revolution is over with. And if you look at what's happening in industry now, whereas it used to take, I think it was like 350 people to build a car, to move wrenches and weld and put on tires and do stuff. Now I think it's 5, because of automation and things. So we look at this shift in the economy and in the social construct of what's happening. And frankly, we don't need red muscle mass anymore. So it's not leveling out because of, just the construct of society. It's leveling out because of need. And when we do that, it levels the playing field again, then you get to see what's really out there. You get to look at the buffet of knowledge and say, where do we want to be? And so as all this thing is shifting, and we look at everything from birth rates and education, and there's a lot that's been happening, this tipping point that's about to occur is probably going to be the greatest thing that's happening in economics in at least 250, maybe 300 years, because what we did in this study, so we said, okay, the math is the math. The past is the past. Don't judge the past. Just embrace it and say that's what it is. But where are we today? And what does this shift mean today? And I always tell people, and this is another little asterisk I want to put by this around not judging the past and looking back at patriarchal systems and things. I tell people don't judge the past, like I said, because in most cases they were doing the best they can. But we, and this is very important, I tell every student this, we are the past of our future selves. So in other words, our great grandchildren are going to look back at us and judge us. So we got to say, are we doing the best we can with what we've got? Or are we moving toward a better tomorrow? Or is there just something happening out there where we really are barbarians? Now, our great grandchildren might call us barbarians, and they might look at things that we do now that we think are so advanced, like medical technology, heart transplants, and things like that. They're going to be coming back going, ooh, they use scalpels and they use stitches and staples on people. Those barbarians. We think we're doing great, but our future self is going to look back at us differently. So this is a chance for us to reverse that and say, wait a minute, we can now see our future selves. We can see what's happening, not only just in the math, but in the social construct of this. And the concept around 2028, when women do finally take over global leadership, the next obvious question is, well, are you going to be any good at it? Or what is it about women that makes it special? The math and everything supports it. So we spent 4 years studying thousands of women all over the world that are in leadership. And we ask them a simple question: what makes you so good? And the irony is, especially in science, we reach saturation point on like the second or third person, which means we started hearing the same story repeated over and over and over again by these great female leaders. And what they told us was really the keys to the kingdom, what they're doing radically different, which aligns with the economy, which aligns with what the consumers want, and which aligns with what the workforce wants. So this isn't just a normal tipping point where we say, oh, that's cool, I wonder what's going to happen. This is one of those tipping points where we can say, oh, wow, I can't wait for this to happen. So let's be prepared when it gets there, because the ultimate thing that we learn about females in leadership is, and I hope you appreciate this, Catherine, it's not a girl thing. It's just something girls do, which means we can teach guys to do it and we can all grow together. But the shift is here. 42% of all businesses are now run by women. 6 of 8 Wall Street firms are now run by women, or a woman is next in line to be the chair. So this shift is happening. There's nothing we can do to stop it. But when you peel it back and you look at it, you realize how awesome this is. You realize how great women are at leadership. You realize how the parallels line up just perfectly with what the need is of society, the consumer, the workforce, and everything else. And you just sit back and go, man, this is going to be a heck of a ride. It's going to be good.
And here's the thing. The research has shown that companies that have both male and female leadership, right, in the C-suite are more profitable. So
Absolutely.
Any smart company is going to want that balance of people in their C-suite, right? And I think most smart business people realize that.
Yes.
The other thing is, let's not forget, women impact 80% of the buying decisions. There is a power in that. We do decide what gets purchased.
Yeah.
The thing that we are not influencing right now that we could be and should be, which will be better for everyone, is deciding what products and services actually get created. And that's where the venture capital part of it comes in.
Yeah.
With women coming into these trillions of dollars in the coming decade, the biggest transfer of wealth ever toward women is that they can decide to be part of that venture capital arena where it is decided which products and services are actually created. And that's where we have had such a significant blow, is that we get only 2% of venture capital. But what I'm out there preaching is we are only getting 2% because women aren't deciding who gets the investing, who gets the investments. Yeah. And so we have to be the investors in order to decide who gets the investments.
Bingo.
And that will be a game changer. And I believe that's what's going to shift. Like you've said, and I'm fascinated with your concept of the shift in global leadership married with my focus on the shift in women becoming investors in venture capital.
Sure.
There is a synergy there, right? What I'm wondering is, based on just what's happened here in this country, thinking we might have a woman leader, and then to read that, there's going to be women's global leadership as of 2028. Wow. I hope you're right. Like, it makes sense what you're saying, and I do believe in the scientific analysis of things, whether it's, manifesting something scientifically or it just happening, like you're saying, because of what's falling into place naturally. So I'm really interested in reading your book.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm excited about this. And I'll back up a little bit and make a comment on this, because when I talk about economics a lot, I always tell people, be very careful about putting any type of labels on things, gender, whatever, because, and this is just, please, I hope everybody listens to me all the way through before they shut me off on this. Economics, the economy, does not care about diversity. And the reason it doesn't care about diversity is it already assumes that it's there. Economics moves wherever the opportunity is. So when you talk about women investing, I just want them to make the right investment. You don't invest in somebody because they're a man or because they're a woman or because they got a good track record or whatever. You invest in it because it's the right investment. And I think this beautiful thing that's happening with women coming up on just the math side of it is that the discernment women have is much, much greater in the moment than men, because women take a step back and add a few pieces to the process before a man normally would. Now, again, it doesn't mean the man's way is wrong. It just means what we're learning is the female's way is better in the way society and consumption works today. So when you look at it and you say, well, wait a minute, you can't sit there and say, we don't like diversity. Yes, I can. And here's why. People look at me all the time and say, well, you're a middle-aged, slightly tan, but white, blue-eyed male, right? They're going, oh, you're one of those guys. And I'm like, yeah, but wait, let's think about this. The white, blue-eyed male, especially middle-aged, is the smallest minority in the world. I mean, I literally don't, I'm not even a rounding error when you look at it. Now, yeah, in the past, there was some colonialization and the Europeans did really good at banking and moving that stuff over. Okay, that's a great storyline for the past. But what does that mean today? It means nothing. The economy goes to wherever the opportunity is. What the economy cares about, and this is where the female quotient is really going to excel, it cares about inclusion, not diversity. Economics wants inclusion. They want everybody to be included. So now when this shift is happening and women are coming into the C-suite, women are coming in to the thing where they are making the decisions on everything from workforce to the products that are being out there to, like you said, how are they going to invest their money? I would challenge that women are going to invest their money probably better, but they're not going to invest in something just because it's a woman. They're going to invest in it because it's the right thing to do. But they will raise it together. And great members of the C-suite or any great leader always say they don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. What great leaders want is to be in a room where everybody's getting smarter together. And women can embrace that more than men can. And the methodology of female leadership allows that to happen. So what we're going to see is, I don't think you're going to see a whole flood of investments going in from women to invest in women-owned companies. What you're going to see is them saying, hey, how can we all rise up together so that I know you're the right fit? I know that you're the right investment. Or let me give you some serious advice. You're passionate about this, but the consumer market is not. So let's tweak this and work together to rise it up. So I think everything that you've been talking about is about to have a major, major shift. Not because there's going to be a flood of people investing in women-owned businesses, but because it's the right thing to do. And these female-owned businesses and female investors are going to be making very, very wise decisions based on past experience, their current circumstances, and what the future hopes and dreams are. But for the first time in a long, long time, and this is so important, it is aligning perfectly with the consumer markets. What the consumers are saying is that I want to feel seen, I want to feel heard, and I want to feel understood, because there are a lot of really, really good choices out there. And the consumer world now is the same as the workforce world now. It's hard to make a bad decision. I mean, most people are putting themselves in, if they're going, well, Coke or Pepsi or, Celsius, my favorite, or Red Bull or whatever you're drinking, they're all fine, right? So what is it about them that drives you to be a Celsius person or a Red Bull person or Coca-Cola versus Pepsi? What is it?
So
the consumer always comes back to that.
Let me give you just a little pushback here, and this is what I have to say about what you just said about investing in the ones that make the most sense, that are the best invention or innovation. 100% we should be investing in who has the best innovation or solution, not based on anything other than who has the best. The problem is the system has been broken. So when women or BIPOC or an LGBTQ person does have the best solution, they have not been receiving the investment for that. And that's wherein the discussion lies. How do we make sure, like you said, that we're investing in the best possible innovation, no matter who it is? Perfect example, Silicon Valley. We're starting our Women Founders Fund there because even though the statistics show that women tend to stretch the dollar faster, be 15 to 20, 30% more profitable, have earlier exits, the men in Silicon Valley do not embrace that clear-cut scientific data and refuse to invest in women technologies, innovations that are the best because they are women. And unfortunately, that's a fact. Now, yes, it is a broken system that we all need to fix, and we need to look at it like, let's invest in the best possible innovation. But when things aren't set up that way at present, the best that we can do to try to fix that system is to say to women, you've been having no say-so in what even gets made because you haven't been investing in it, deciding who gets the funding. Women may very well decide that the funding should go to the best innovator in that solution, but it hasn't been that way to date. And I hope you're right. I hope women help fix that by doing exactly what you said, using their money and their power to change that system so that the best possible product or innovation gets the funding, not based on anything other than that is the best.
Yeah,
and so
and they will. And but let me say something real quick here. You said that 85% of consumption is done by women. That's right and wrong. It's 85% impacted, but it's 85% cubed, because the woman not only drives her consumption, she drives the family's consumption.
Yes.
So when you look at things, and I see this in different sectors all the time, there are going to be some sectors that are going to collapse, absolutely not exist in the next 10 or 15 years, at least the way we see them today, because they didn't embrace this change, because they didn't invest in women, because they didn't do certain things. There's going to be entire sectors that have been here for hundreds or thousands of years that you're going to see topple over. But what they're really toppling over with is that they fail, and this is your Silicon Valley issue here. They fail to believe and really understand that investors and consumers don't speak to them in English, or speak to them with, this raising their hand saying, oh, I want to help you. Investors speak with their feet and with their checkbooks. So when you see people saying, I really like you, you got a good product, but I'm not going to invest in you anymore, or I'm not going to buy your products anymore, or more importantly, I'm not going to buy your product for the second time. I'll test it, I'll try it, but I'm not going to come back and do it again. Then you see the decision makers really radically react, because the consumer will speak with their feet and with their checkbooks, not with some philosophical conversation that's out there. So when you see certain sectors, and Silicon Valley might be one of them, to be honest with you, that's such a broad term though. It's hard to, rationalize what it is. But when you see some of these old guard patriarchs not doing something, it's just a matter of time, and they're going to get toppled over, because the feet and the checkbook are louder than any whistle, any banging, any protest, anything that's out there. And the economy adjusts quickly. So I think what's going to happen is just like any type of, imagine flying on a plane through a storm. Perfectly safe. You're going to get there. Might not like the process, might feel a little turbulence along the way, but at the end of the day, everything's going to be fine. So yeah, we're going to see some turbulence out there. You're going to see sectors like maybe Silicon Valley and some other really, really big ones not react the way they should. But guess what? In economics, and I tell people this all the time, Wall Street and the economy is very literal. It is what it says it is. There can be no ambiguity. So when you look at this and you say, okay, but what about the future? What do we see coming? How do we see this starting to happen? We're going to be able to sit back and say, no, wait a minute. The economy said they wanted something. Who can deliver it? We know women can deliver it, and they can deliver it better than guys can right now. And this is, again, it's not an anti-guy thing. It's just saying guys are wired and trained to do it a certain way that is not the way that things are going to be happening right now. So in the literal part of that with Wall Street, the word currency, like printed US dollar bills, currency, comes from the root word current, okay, like the current of a river, which is really a root of energy. The economy's energy is going to go wherever it's best suited. And if people build dams up along the way because of philosophical things or just they're stupid, that's fine. That dam's going to break. Or the currency, the energy is going to go someplace else. So when you have women at the helm, like we do now and like what's going to happen, you're going to see them turn the steering wheel, and you're going to see them say, well, you know what? If you're not investing in us, we're not investing in you. And it's going to change. And my guess is people like Silicon Valley will change quickly.
Yes.
But I can also tell you that there's probably a little bit of a current of this sort of initial stage, this embryonic growth stage that women are going through right now in the investor stage, where they need to start making some tweaks and need to start saying, okay, am I overstating my passion and not stating my ROI? And what is it that I can do to prove that this investment is going to give whatever the ROI is to make it work? And that's not a gender thing. That's just common sense thing. But I think that when you see what women are doing and they're raising their hands now and saying, I can do this, I can do that, look at this over here, my time has come. Those who don't pay attention to it, they're gone.
You're absolutely right. They will be left behind, and that we agree on for sure. This economic shift, this leadership shift, I agree with you. It's inevitable. Who's on board and who isn't is going to be who's left behind and who rides the wave. So, yes, agree with you on that for sure. And like I said, I'm really glad that you're writing a book about this. I think it's good coming from a male perspective to say, here come the girls, guys, and this is a good thing, and let's all do this together.
Yes. Yes. It's important. And the book will be out in the next few weeks. But what's really important is the concept of what it's really all about. And it comes down to a woman's ability in leadership to critically think through a process and a few steps that she adds to it that men don't. Men have been told, we've been trained since we were little boys to just fix it. If there's a problem, fix it. And sometimes we go so far as males as to say, if there's not a problem, we're going to break it just so we can fix it. Because we like fixing things, right? That's what guys do. Women, though, when you look at how a woman's been, designed and worked through, not just educational, but in social construct, women fix it with a little bit different attempt to grace. Women have the ability to kind of lean in and do something. So what we learned, the big key factor was whenever there's a problem and it comes to a woman, she doesn't just say, let me fix it. She actually adds a couple of steps to it. And the first step is to acknowledge the problem and be sympathetic to the problem, not the person, but the problem. In other words, yeah, I acknowledge that problem is real. That's something we need to talk about. So she'll separate the problem from the person, which is brilliant. And then she shows empathy to the person involved. So if somebody on her team came up and said, oh my God, there's this big problem. There was this strike in the ports of Charleston and we got a shipping container stuck there and we can't get it in. And if it doesn't come in, then we're not gonna be able to, the factory's going to shut down supply, just this ripple effect of stuff that's happening. A female leader says, yeah, you're right. I see that. That's a very real problem. Now, and she doesn't say it this way, but she would say empathetically to her, hey, I hope you're not losing sleep over this. This isn't your fault. But I know it's your responsibility, so let's talk about this. So she shows sympathy to the problem and empathy to the person before she tries to fix it. And then instead of fixing it, she does something magical. Female leaders, and I've seen this happen so many times, you can predict it like clockwork. Instead of saying, let me tell you what to do, which is the guy's way of doing it, what she says is, hey, how would you do this if you were me? How would you solve that problem? And what we learned is that 9 out of 10 times when a female leader says that to the person on her team, male or female, they already know how to fix the problem. And then what she does is she leans in and says, go do it. You're in charge. You go do it. So she empowers that person to go do their job. Now, two things just happened here. By showing sympathy to the problem, empathy to the person, and then leaning in and asking them how they would solve it, what she did was she says, I see you. I see the problem. I hear you, I'm empathetic to you, but most importantly, I understand that you are the person who's here to do this. I see you, I hear you, and I understand you. And when somebody on the other side of that feels seen, heard, and understood, guess what? They feel valued. And if they feel valued, they will move mountains for you. But most importantly, next time there's a problem, guess what? That person's not going to come to her and say there's a problem. They're going to fix it themselves because she empowered them to do it, which means, going back to your point, Catherine, which I think is brilliant, she is able to go back and be innovative and think about things. How do I invest in different ways? How do I create a better culture? How do I do this? How do I do that? So instead of getting in the weeds, she has a team of experts out there who are empowered because they feel seen, heard, and understood. And they can go out there with this enormous energy to go out there and build a company while she can go and innovate and think about things from investments to the next market share or whatever else they want to do. So what happens is when you see a male-owned company side by side by a female-owned company in the same bubble, you can't compare people on other sides of the world in different markets, but they're in the same bubble. The woman traditionally outproduces the guy 3-1. And the reason why is because she has such an empowered workforce that it grows. So that empowered workforce goes out there and they spend money, they do things, but they're going to look for similar situations to invest in. So what we're going to see happening, thank you girls, thank you ladies, is that when this tipping point finally goes over the edge in 2028, and it'll be about a 4-year turbulent time period where it's shifting over, but it won't be turbulent like scary. It'll be turbulent like, oh my God, this is exciting. It's like riding a really fun roller coaster or something. You're going to see the market react. And you're going to see people coming together like we've never seen. So if one company's going 3X and another company's going 3X and another company's going 3X, now you have 3X cubed. You have everybody moving together. Like I said, everybody in the room is getting smarter and better together. And that's going to be the impact of female leadership. That's the key, which means they're going to look back and say, well, where do we invest this? We want to invest in like-minded people. And it's not going to be necessarily gender specific, although that's where you start. They're going to be saying, I want to invest in someone or a business that helps their customers and their workforce feel seen, heard, and understood.
Right.
Therefore, they're valued.
As it should
Therefore,
be.
they're attracted to that.
Right.
That's the key.
As it should be. And that's very exciting to feel like that's coming. And like you said, we have a few years till that starts to kick in. But this educational process, this show we're doing today, the book you're writing, the programs that we're doing to educate people, this is the time to be doing that, to prepare for this big shift. So super excited to have male allies in this arena that are saying, yes, this shift is coming. It's going to benefit everyone. And let's get on board and do this together. Love that message.
Exactly.
I'm going to close with that message. And Don, thank you so much for being a guest today. I'm so looking forward to your book. It's called Here Come the Girls, and people will be able to get that online and elsewhere. And I know you have another book out called The Perfect Plan. I'd like to read that as well. And, I just want to wrap by saying, here you are, you've built up your own billion-dollar company. So, you're giving great advice to our listeners about, what the future holds and the promise of women innovators being able to build their businesses and get more funding. It's coming. We're all working on that. But like you said, it's a scientific fact. There's going to be this shift. And that shift in women's leadership is super, super exciting. So thanks for bringing this to the table.
Oh, thanks for having me. And the message I try to tell everybody, I spent 25 years on Wall Street working in private equity, and I've been in some really good decision-making processes, and I've been in some really bad decision-making processes. And it all boils down to the single common denominator was, what is the leadership doing? What do they believe in? And does it align with the market? And that's what I mean. Wall Street doesn't care that much about diversity. It doesn't care about it all. It cares about inclusion. And with this rise of women coming up, the potential for more investment in women-owned businesses, which is going to be the dominant factor right now, what they're really looking for is just tell me why this is good. And I think when a woman presents it in the way that says that I build a business where everybody is seen, heard, and understood. Here's my process for doing this. And because of that, everybody's rising up together. And guess what? It's exactly what the consumer, male and female, is looking for. And it's what the workforce is looking for. My God, buckle up. I mean, we're going to see an economic shift like we've never seen before. So the percentages that you've been talking about and everybody else, I think that's going to be a deep past history. What were you saying, 3% or something is some of those numbers that are bounced around? I think 2%. It's going to invert exactly the opposite way. So it's just nature. It's the way it's going to go. And it's an exciting time. And like I said, it's not necessarily a girl thing. It's just what girls do. And so men can learn how to do this. And it's what the workforce wants and the consumer wants. So even the slowest out there, men and women, they're going to figure this thing out pretty quick, and it's going to be exciting. And I think everything you're working for is about to come out. So you've been a great voice on this, and I think you're about to do a little victory lap yourself. I think you're going to get a big aha and a pat on the back because you helped sort of bring the way for this. So thank you, Catherine, for what you're doing. This is amazing.
Don. Thank you so much. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Can they find you on LinkedIn, Don?
Yes, LinkedIn's the best way. Follow me on LinkedIn. And if somebody ever wants to send me a message and say, hey, I heard you on Catherine's show, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send them a free e-copy of the first book, The Perfect Plan. And then I think Amazon said in the next couple of days, they're going to put the pre-order for Here Come the Girls out. So, but any of your listeners that call and said, hey, I was listening to you on Catherine's show, and I'd like a free copy of the first book, I'll send it to them. Or if there's anything that they have any questions, I'll be happy to engage and help because we really, really want to help make this a wonderful experience for everybody. So whatever we can do to help, we'll do it.
And for those of you just listening in on Apple or Spotify or one other, it is Donald Barden. So it's Donald W. and then Barden, PhD. You can find him on LinkedIn. And of course, pick up that book, Here Come the Girls. Excited to talk about this today. It was a nice, robust conversation. Loved it. Everybody can find me as well, Catherine Gray, Catherine with a C, Gray, on LinkedIn. And of course, you can visit our websites, sheangelinvestors.com. But also, if you want to know where the movie's going to be, it is showherthemoneymovie.com. And you can also check out our new fund, Silicon Valley Women Founders Fund.vc. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you found it to be a show that has given you a sense of hope and energized you for what's coming in the future. I know it did me. Thanks so much, Don. Everybody, make it a great day.